is the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. The Battle of Qadisiyah, which occurred in the year 14 after the Hijrah, was the battle that took down the Persian Empire. Persian Empire was the strongest, the second strongest empire at the time, right? And the battle lasted for about 4 days, right? Muslims conquered part of the Persian Empire up until that point. But this was the battle where the Persians came with a large army, 65,000, nearly double the Muslims. The Muslims were only 38,000. And they had a fleet of elephants with them, all right? And I'll narrate a story, legendary story. I mean, subhanAllah, this Sahabi, ridiculous. The honor that he had, all right? The way he carried himself. How many of us are like that today? Before the battle started, the Prophet ﷺ, or Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, was the military commander, he sent a companion by the name of Rib'i ibn Amir at-Tamimi. He sent him to the leader of the Persians, Rustam. Alright? So when he got there, alright, Rustam, what did he do? Commander of the Persians. He made the place look very nice so that he could intimidate these better Muslims. So he was sitting on a large throne made out of gold. There was nice carpets on the floor with pillows. The whole place looked like what? Looked lit, right? Rib'i, none of that affected him. And he came by himself. And he's the one who told Sa'ad ibn Qas, let me go by myself. Because the Persians, from their culture was, if you come deep, that shows that you're a little bit afraid or intimidated by it. But if you come by yourself, you're sending them a message, I'm a one-man army. What you gonna do to me? So they were more afraid of you if you're by yourself than what? Than if you're deep. So he told Sa'ad ibn Qas, I'm gonna go by myself. Don't send anybody with me. So he came in there with his horse. And his horse is walking on the carpets. And the what? The pillows. And everybody's looking at him. Look at this guy. Disrespectful. He should be imagine somebody who's just driving up curbside. Just think somebody who's driving on a curb. He doesn't park in a parking lot. He drives on the curb, then he parks in front of the entrance. That's what he did. He literally parked right in front of Rustam. And he got off with a spear. And he started what? Smashing all the pillows around him. And he tied his horse to a couple of the pillows. And he had his sword on him. They told him, take off your sword. He had his sword and a spear. They told him, take off your sword. He said, I didn't come to you guys. You guys invited me. I'm not taking off anything. If you tell me to take it off, I'm going back to where I came from. So Muslims was like, wow, this guy is, okay. He's by himself, let him go. He's surrounded by hundreds, all right, of soldiers, right? He's by himself. Look how he came into Muslim, all right? And he decided to sit on the ground. He didn't want to sit on the carpets or the pillows. He sat on the ground. These guys were about to kill him. Disrespectful, how are you going to sit on the floor? He literally moved the carpets and the pillows, you know, the ones he was smashing, and he sat on the floor. So, Muslim is like, what is this guy? Who's this guy? So he told him, what brought you here? And he responded with a legendary statement. What did he say? He said, we came so that we could take people out of ibadatul ibad, the worship of the slaves, ila ibadati rabbil ibad, to worshiping the Lord of the slaves. That hit Muslim. That was a powerful statement. The Persians are, what religion do they believe in? They believe in the fire. There's roasteries, right? You know, worship, a lot of times when we hear the word worship, we think prayer, we think this. A lot of times we know we're Muslims, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But worship is also when you're very overly concerned with something. A lot of us, we worship what? We worship our phones. We worship movies. We worship video games. We worship celebrities. And we don't give the same attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So pay attention to this. Worship is not just who you pray to. It's what you're overly concerned with. You know how people are very busy following all these celebrities that know what they're doing? That's a type of worship. We worship, right? He told Rustam, we're trying to take people out from worshiping human beings as slaves and dunya matters to worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? And to take people out from the dhiq of this dunya ila sa'atiha. You know, when you don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will never find happiness and tranquility in your heart, no matter how much you try. Once you get money, you're gonna get tired of money. You want more money. And you want more money, you never get happiness. Once you get whatever you're looking for, you're never gonna get happiness. It's gonna run out. Nothing is gonna get you satisfied. The only thing that's gonna get you satisfied is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Make sure you have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? وَمِن جَوْرِ الْأَدْيَانِ إِلَىٰ عَدْلِ الْإِسْلَامِ. And from the injustices of the religions to the justice of Islam. So Rustam was like, this guy is very smart. So he told him, what do you want? He said, we'll give you some days to become Muslim. A day or two. Make your decision. Become Muslim or surrender. Become Muslim or surrender. One of the two. Alright? So he said, I'm going to have to write to the Persian king. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to consult people. This is that. He's like, no. You only have 3 days. Prophet ﷺ instructed us, you give people 3 days. So do whatever you want in 3 days, but after 3 days, give me your answer. He said, I got it. Right? And they reminded him that I came with people that are willing to die more than your soldiers who are willing to live. Yani their death is more honorable to them than their own lives. Imagine that. People are fighting, they don't have no problem dying. And these people, they're trying to live. To the point that some of the Persian Empire, some of the Persian soldiers, they were brought in shackles, forced to fight. I don't know, it's not even close, even though they're double their size. Rustam, after Rib'i left, you know what he said? He said, you guys see how amazing that man was? How smart he was, full of integrity, confident he was in his beliefs. SubhanAllah. So the other people, they started telling him, hey Rustam, don't be fooled by these Bedouins, man. Look at his clothes. He came in with clothes that were very basic. He didn't look very sophisticated. And these guys were sitting in gold and silver, chains and all this. I don't know. But Rustam was a smart individual. He looked at him and he said, this is a person. They actually thought. The thought crossed him about Islam. Just like it crossed the Byzantine emperor. But he decided to go to war against the Muslims. Alright? The war lasted 4 days. The first day, the Persians attacked. The second day, the Muslims attacked. The third day, the Persians attacked. Now, the elephants was on the first day, the second day, really, and the third day, really killed a lot of Muslims. Because a lot of the Muslims at that time were Arabs, and they never seen elephants. They didn't know what to do with them. Alright? So Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, what he did is he ordered a part of the army to destroy those elephants. So they ended up killing the elephants on the third day. They got rid of the elephants on the fourth day. The Muslims ended up, winning the battle. And the Persians, they ran away. And they ended up conquering the rest of the empire. And this was the battle that the Muslims took over the Persian Empire. And now, today, the entirety of Iraq, Iran, Uzbekistan, that entire area in Asia, Middle Asia, that was in control by the Sassanids, became Muslim. Right after that, a lot of the Persians became Muslim, to the point that some of the great scholars in history were Persian, like Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, and Imam Muslim, rahimahullah ta'ala, and others. They were Persian. They became Muslim because of the day of Qadisiyya, subhanAllah, right? Their great-grandfathers became Muslim. That's why this is the third greatest battle in Islamic history. The second greatest